Target will no longer sell its 2024 Pride Month collection in some of its stores following last year's controversial campaign. In a press release, Target announced its plans to offer its collection of products celebrating Pride Month in only select stores and online, depending on, quote, historical sales performance. As a reminder, the retail giant faced heavy criticism from conservatives last year after they launched the merch in all stores. Some conservatives vowed to boycott and treat the brand like Bud Light. One X account wrote, quote, "They are indoctrinating and grooming them with LGBTQ ideology. It is highly inappropriate and disturbing."
After enough pressure, Target reversed course and said in a 2023 statement, "Since introducing this year's collection, we've experienced threats impacting our team members' sense of safety and well-being while at work. Given these volatile circumstances, we're making adjustments to our plans, including removing items that have been at the center of the most significant confrontational behavior." And that decision infuriated many Democrats. Popular X-user John Cooper wrote, quote, "It's terribly disappointing that Target is caving in to threats of violence from anti-LGBTQ bigots by removing Pride Month displays. If these extremists decide to attack displays celebrating Black History Month next, will Target remove those as well?" In a statement to Rising this morning, a Target spokesperson said, "Target is committed to supporting the LGBTQIA+ community during Pride Month and year-round." And, quote, "We will have a presence at local Pride events in Minneapolis and around the country, and we continue to support a number of LGBTQIA+ organizations. Additionally, we will offer a collection of products for Pride, including adult apparel, home products, food and beverage, which has been curated based on guest insights and consumer research. These items, starting at $3, will be available in select stores and on Target.com." So I remember covering this story last year, and it's the type of situation where, of course, a corporation is going to choose their employees' safety over the products. They're making a calculation. What would a lawsuit be like if something like this actually happened? What would the damage be to Target in dollars, but also in the cost of human lives potentially if these are violent threats? Of course, they'd rather not sell Pride merch. I think it's a little bit ridiculous to say that the Pride merch at Target is important in a cultural way, that like, what if they come for Black History Month next? What if they come for Black History Month next? It's not like having a rainbow on a t-shirt is what gives gay people rights. The consumerism around Black History Month, around Pride Month, is just, it doesn't do anything for these communities that we're supposed to be celebrating. It just makes Target money. So I find it a little bit ridiculous. It's usually liberals that get pretty upset when they decide to take action after receiving violent threats. In the same way, it's ridiculous people are mad at Target for selling the products. They're selling it to consumers who will buy them. They don't care, I don't think, about gay rights in the way that they say they do. I don't think they care about, the Black community in the way they say they do. They're selling this stuff because they can make money off of it. That's their only incentive here. There was a market for it. And if that market becomes dangerous to have products, in the stores to sell, then they're not going to do it. They're just making a cost-benefit analysis from a very corporate perspective here.
It is true that corporations like to cash in on what they consider to be potentially profitable societal or cultural trends when it's convenient for them. We see so many companies change their logos on social media to pride flags, except for their brand accounts that are in some Middle Eastern countries. Conveniently, those logos don't get changed to the pride or trans pride flag. But what's interesting about the threats of violence that were reported against Target back in 2023 when this collection first came out is that the only evidence of any of the threats was actually from an LGBTQ activist, not from people who were protesting against the LGBTQ merchandise being in stores. According to a story from the Washington Post, claiming that Target stores saw more bomb threats over Pride merchandise. The only confirmed bomb threat, again, was from someone who was upset that Target had removed the Pride items because they were pro-LGBTQ. So, I mean, that's really interesting. But you also hit on something about Target making a risk analysis about its employees. And I mean, the same thing happens in places like San Francisco when they identify that crime has gotten too bad. They need to cut their losses to protect their employees. A lot of businesses shuttered during the riots of the summer of 2020 for similar reason. And a lot of liberals were fine justifying violence against random stores like Target and CVS during the summer of 2020. But then all of a sudden, we're all up in arms over these fake bomb threats that have never even been, again, proven to be real. The only one that was from a pro-LGBTQ activist. All of a sudden, they were not okay with violence, even threatened violence against corporations. So, I mean, that double standard I thought was pretty fascinating.
I don't know. I don't see that as a double standard because I think there's this definition of violence that many people use that applies to property damage. I think colloquially, when most people talk about violence, they mean like a person hurting another person. Now, a bombing of a Target would probably hurt all of the customers in there and the employees there, whereas the kind of looting that we saw in 2020 and in other years, it's property damage, it's theft. These stores are covered by huge insurance packages where they'll totally receive all of the dollars for the goods taken from their insurance company. And so that's why they don't invest a lot in theft prevention at stores like this. They typically wait till someone's taken enough money, they have enough evidence that they can sue, but they're protected by theft insurance. And so breaking windows and stealing goods, I just categorize in a very different place than, bombing a store and hurting physically all of the workers and customers potentially that are in the store. So that's sort of where I differentiate those two things. Now, I think what's at the heart of this, though, is people want to live in a society where they don't have to see like pride flags, they don't have to see rainbows, they don't want their kids to see it. And I think that fundamentally goes against our basic principles of freedom. The United States was founded on the freedom of expression and the right to, live your life how you want to, religiously or what have you. And it's kind of a desire to infringe on people's rights by not wanting to see their lifestyle in public. But when you live in a free society, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to see different kinds of people, different religions, different ideas and expressions in public. And in private stores, too, even if you like shopping there for other reasons. And so I think it's a bit delusional to think you can live in a free society but control whether or not a T-shirt has a rainbow on it. Like, it just feels like a very petty issue to get involved with, and one that goes against the principle of living in a free society.
Yeah, no one was upset with Target for having a pride display. They were upset because the pride display included products that were marketed for children. So it was on children's clothing. And the biggest part of it that was infuriating for many is that in the children's section in some of these stores, they had products like tucking underwear and chest binders, which could be seen as trying to get children to engage in a transgender lifestyle or identify as transgender by making it appear cool or trendy. And I don't think a parent should have to worry that if they're shopping in the kids section at Target, that their kid is going to see a chest binder and want to know what it is. So that was really the impetus for the protest against Target. And I think there's two sides to this coin. If we want to live in a free society where people can have pride flags on T-shirts in Target, or they can sell chest binders and tucking underwear to toddlers or young people, then on the other side of that, people don't have to shop there. They're welcome to boycott. They're welcome to say that they don't approve of what Target is doing. And clearly, it really affected Target's bottom line, and they decided that it wasn't worth, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze this year, and they were only going to sell products in some of the stores, and they were going to keep them marketed towards adults. And I think that's all people were really asking for, was that if you're going to have a pride display, if you're going to sell pride products, then you should only do it for adults, because we don't need to be discussing sexuality with children. I think people would be just as weirded out if there were products in the children's section that said, I like vagina or I like penis. I mean, what fundamentally is the difference between that and declarative shirts about your sexuality, whether it's same sex or opposite sex attraction? That's just inappropriate for kids to be wearing and for a store to be selling when they claim to be a family-friendly store.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the sales are down at Target mostly in part because there wasn't a huge market of people buying the Pride merch, I have a theory that because it's so ugly, it was mostly purchased by allies to the LGBTQ plus community. I don't think gays would ever buy that stuff. It's just hideous. And it makes sense that the liberals were mad at this because that sounds like the allies that would purchase it. That's just my take as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, that is why sales were down for Pride merch at Target, really. I don't think they were ever particularly high. But when I think about the products that are there for children, I don't see it as pushing a lifestyle onto the kids. When I go to the grocery store as a vegetarian, I don't look at the meat counter and think, I hate this store. They're pushing on to me, the carnivorous lifestyle. I just think, those meats are there for the people who want to eat meat and feed their kids meat, and that's not me, and that's okay. What a beautiful free market society we have. I don't think it's pushing a lifestyle onto the children. I think they exist because there's a market for them. It's a supply and demand situation, and if they don't buy them at Target, the parents who have kids who want these products are going to buy them somewhere else. And so while I totally agree, anyone can boycott whatever they want. That's their right. I will fight for everyone's right to boycott whatever product they want to. That doesn't mean I don't think it's silly. And I do find it to be a terribly silly thing that people are mad about this.
Yeah, your point about the products being ugly is funny because one other thing I wanted to mention is that one of the other issues with the display last year was that it turned out some of these Pride merchandise products were designed by a Satanist who came up with the very clever tagline that Satan respects pronouns. So I don't know. Interesting stuff. We're going to be back with more Rising after this.